So I see what's going on with Booty Willis.
About
So
time.
So she so it looks like, is it possibly disqualified or officially disqualified, or it's just talk of being disqualified?
I mean, I think they're really pressing. They're really moving forward. It's time for her to be held accountable.
I bet you Nathan Wade is at the house on the couch drinking a soda, just looking at it from the TV.
They looking at him as well in the implications as well. Yep. So they're finally, pressing. But my thing is, how can you be so arrogant when you know that you didn't do everything upright? That's my thing.
Okay.
Now is the time to be humble and admit, your fault in the matters and how you handle things that weren't all the way legit. So if you are consequented, they may have a little bit more leniency on you,
okay,
versus someone standing up, just being downright arrogant. I just don't dig that.
Well, let's see. Let's watch and see what they say. I want to see if this is a true disqualification or this is just like,
I think they're going to have grounds.
kind of conversation.
McCarty is really pressing this thing.
McCarty. Oh, Cardi B.
Following the latest in the Fulton County District Attorney disqualification saga
at the Capitol when Democrat Christian Wise Smith filed his paperwork. He ran against Willis 4 years ago. Christian Wise Smith challenging her in the May Democratic primary election.
Right now, we're just weighing our options, man. And this was a necessary step, to put our hat in the ring, should we decide to do that. And then, y'all will be the first to know once we make that call.
Courtney Kramer is shaping up to be the Republican challenger. She actually interned in the White House counsel's office under former President Donald Trump for 3 months in 2018. After filing her paperwork, she took a shot at DA Willis.
You should be prosecuting crimes, putting criminals behind bars, and keeping Fulton County safe. And I'm not scared to run against Fani Willis, but what I am scared of is the Fulton County I am seeing under her leadership right now.
Uh-oh.
What is going on in Georgia? They want to have Fani Willis
Stop it. I already know what you're going to say. He is awake.
He like a gecko.
He looked like he can barely hold his eyes open, but he is awake. Stop it. You know you are wrong.
Is that a mask?
Leave him alone. When I was zooming into this earlier, I was like, I already know he's going to have something to say about this man's eyes. Because I was thinking to myself, does he need some coffee? He need a Celsius or what?
Taken off the case, removed. I was going to say disqualified, but I guess we're past that because McAfee said no, he's not going to disqualify her. So now they're saying, well, just remove her. There's a bar complaint against her, 2 of them. Governor Kemp down there, not a Trump fan, has a panel now saying we're going to toss out rogue prosecutors. But she still has a lifeline. Are you surprised by that, Judge?
Rogue prosecutors.
See, that's my thing, though.
Well,
she's
the
still
trial
in there, though.
judge.
You said what?
That's my thing. She's still in there. So why has she not been, thrown out? But other people are tapping in. Let's see.
I mean, but there's a lot of processes and a lot of things that have to take place to remove her from her position.
Okay.
In the Georgia State case, after 2.5 weeks of a soap opera-like hearing, it should have been resolved in an afternoon, but he let everybody say whatever they want.
True.
Decided not to remove Fani Willis from the case if her boyfriend left. The boyfriend left. She's now back in charge. What Donald Trump did over the weekend was file an appeal of that decision to an appellate court in Georgia. The appeal to the appellate court does not stop what's happening at the trial level. So the trial's not scheduled for October, but there are many, many pretrial matters going on, and they are going on even as we speak. At the same time that this appeal is being filed, Ms. Willis is being investigated by ethics examiners in Georgia to decide whether or not she violated the canons of legal ethics by hiring the boyfriend.
Good evening, Congresswoman. And so what provoked this request for documents to begin with? What made you think that her office was using federal funds inappropriately?
Because we have evidence that she has been receiving federal funds. And obviously, we have oversight as to how they're being spent, being the Judiciary Committee and Congress. And so it is our right to determine whether she is spending those funds appropriately. We have the same issue with Bragg in New York. They're using federal funds to engage in political persecution and to go after political enemies. We also need to find out to what extent she has corresponded with, worked with, coordinated with the White House in her efforts to pursue this litigation against Donald Trump and other citizens.
Wait, when you send money to a DA's office and it gets sent around the country from the Department of Justice, and I understand the oversight, is it just, here's $12 million or here's $12 million, spend it on fixing the jails, adding more assistant DAs? I mean, are you specifics? I mean, or do you just sort of send a check?
You don't just send a check. They are supposed to use that money for specific purposes.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why we have the oversight. It's just not just that they get a blank check to do whatever they want to do. And again, when we're talking about political persecution, which I think it's very obvious in light of what has happened over the last couple of weeks and the mini trial that we watched play out in the court down there, addressing her inappropriate relationship with one of her underlings and whether that has colored this litigation and her effort to prosecute Donald Trump. So again, I think that we have every right to determine whether our money is being used inappropriately and whether she is the conduit by which the White House is attempting to hamstring President Biden's primary political opponent.
You heard that. So there is where they want to even tap in to see if she and the Biden administration have been, handling some things in regards to Trump.
That's going to come back. I promise that's going to come back.
So they digging deep.
And I bet you the fundings that she has in the city, it's just like the school system, it's an allotment. It's like grant allotment. So, yeah, you're supposedly supposed to do this, but then you could say, okay, this is a part of what I'm doing for this case. And then you labeling this, but you taking this and doing this and going taking trips with it. Put it on here because you're not going to label it Bahamas. I'm going to take this funds and we're going to go out on we're going to go buy a car. You're going to label this something else and you're going to take those funds and use them for something else. You can literally do that when it comes to your government funding, just like in education. In the school system, you can do that. So I guarantee that's what she did. But if she does, I guarantee you she's going to come back with ties to the president's office because, they want him shut down at all costs. So Fani would have been out here straight. She would have been good in life based on simply on the Young Thug thing that she got down when she took down the whole YSL and done that. But then when she tried to go off of Trump, it just really tarnished the eye of how she looked to Atlanta. You get what I'm saying? It completely, when she started going off Trump, that completely ruined it for her.
Go ahead.
Are there some specific documents you've requested that she has not provided to date? I know that she says it's sort of a rolling process, and I don't know if she's dragging her feet or not, but nonetheless, are there some specific documents that you want that you think that she's sitting on deliberately?
Well, some of the documents that I would like to see relate to the relationship and the coordination and the interaction with the White House. When her former paramour was billing the county, he has line items in there for meeting with the White House in Washington, D.C. for 8 hours at a time. I think it would be entirely appropriate for us to have some understanding of what took place during those meetings. And again, we need to get back to the fact or to the question of whether Joe Biden and the White House are coordinating in these efforts to prosecute Donald Trump. Donald Trump is clearly not only the front runner, he is the candidate for the Republican Party. He is beating Joe Biden in all of the polls.
Finish.
There's one particular entry that I have a high interest in, and I can't figure this one out. I know about the meetings at the White House, and I got that you have the interest in it. But there's one entry in his invoices where he said he met, I think, with White House counsel in Athens, Georgia. And for the life of me, I can't figure out. I mean, I get, going to the White House, and maybe there's some negotiation about documents or whatever, and I await the answer to that. But why do you think that, what's with this Athens, Georgia meeting with the White House counsel? You don't expect that one.
So I think that that's also very significant. We need to find out that. But we also have learned that there is an assistant district attorney in her office who is being paid $40-some thousand, $50-some thousand a year, yet has a side business that he is a political operative, a Democrat political operative.
$40,000 a year. Scratch my back, babe, as I speak. So she's saying, "Oh yeah, I get that spot." Yes.
Keep listening.
Keep listening. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all.
He's actually raked in hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, in furthering the Democrat agenda. I think we're entitled to find out more information about that relationship and why he's in the office. And as you say, there were meetings with White House counsel. I think we have the right to understand what took place during those meetings.
That's right.
We're following a dispute right now between Fulton County, Georgia, essentially Atlanta, the DA here, Fani Willis, and her dispute with a powerful congressman. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan of Ohio, an ardent Trump supporter, recently threatened to hold Willis in contempt of Congress for not providing information about how the DA's office used a federal grant. But in a defiant response, Willis said she is cooperating with Jordan's committee and suggested what Jordan really wants is to slow down her election subversion case against Trump and others. She wrote in part, "Nothing that you do will derail the efforts of my staff, and I bring the election interference prosecution to trial."
The Georgia case.
But then you see what they said. They said it was a grant. It wasn't just like it was just certain kind of allotted funding. It was a grant. And think about when you see grant money, it's just in a bank account.
But how arrogant of you to even, have such a response. But now you need to realize, hearing where your power lies, it's running out, because her position definitely doesn't trump the power of the Congress, and continuously failing to adhere to what their requests or demands are, she's going to get herself in a position where she really going to be ousted.
Delayed for 2 months by a challenge to DA Fani Willis, finally moves forward today in Atlanta. Judge Scott McAfee will hear arguments that the charges violate Trump's free speech rights under the First Amendment. Trump's lawyers say the case seeks to criminalize political speech.
DA Fani Willis firing back at Republicans seeking info about her use of federal funds, saying, quote, "Nothing you do will derail the efforts of my staff and I to bring election interference prosecution to trial so that a jury of Fulton County citizens can determine the guilt or innocence of the defendants."
Our next guest initiated the push to remove Willis from this case against Trump and his co-defendants, and one of whom she represents.
All right, joining us back with us again, Attorney Ashley Merchant. Ashley, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Does this require you be in court today?
Yes, but luckily our judge has embraced Zoom, so a lot of us can appear by Zoom, which really helps things a lot. So I'm not primarily arguing, so I'll be on Zoom.
Arguing for what? What are you looking to do today?
Yeah, so there's two motions that are going to be heard today. The first one is a motion to dismiss based on First Amendment grounds. And that motion so Donald Trump's lawyer is arguing that, Steve Sadow, and he's going to be arguing that the First Amendment should prohibit this prosecution. And it's really a couple different First Amendment issues that we've got. We've got the freedom to associate, the freedom to petition the government, the freedom to speak. So all of this conduct that's part of this indictment is really covered by the First Amendment. And if you think about it, it makes sense that a judge should be the one that protects that right, because you shouldn't have to go in front of a jury to protect your constitutional rights. So that's the first one we're going to hear. But then the second one is called a demurrer. And in Georgia, a demurrer is really a motion to dismiss. And what we're trying to do is argue, and that's Mr. Schaefer's motion. He's primarily arguing that. And he was the Georgia GOP leader at the time and also one of the alternate electors. So when you look at the indictment, you see a lot of language that says fake electors, things like that, duly elected, fraudulent. And those are legal conclusions. And so we're trying to have those dismissed, saying that the state can't just put those legal conclusions in there. That's something that a jury has to decide.
You know, Counselor, I'm curious. And obviously, I mean, we saw it for our screen, and our viewers saw what happened in the courtroom with Fani Willis. The case was laid out. They lied under oath. But my question is, why not keep them on the case? They've been very sloppy with their filings, out of control. From a legal standpoint, it would seem like they're easy to beat.
Well, and that was kind of one of the discussions you have to talk about when you're determining whether or not to file one of these motions. We truly don't believe that someone else, if we had a neutral and detached person, someone who didn't have an actual financial interest, that they would bring these charges, particularly against my client. The thing that's important, I think, to always remember is my client was not recommended for indictment by the special purpose grand jury. So, this indictment was unnecessarily expanded. And I think if we had someone who's neutral and they went back and looked at it, they may not bring this indictment.
That's interesting.
The country got to know you and what I consider to be Fulton County's finest on display with having Fani Willis on the stand.
So basically, that just said it right there. If she did not have interest in being promoted to the White House, if somebody was in her role that was not of interest, this wouldn't even have been a case. This would have been nothing. This woman was paid and they was promised a position allegedly.
Or maybe, I mean, well, that's not even alleged. That's your opinion. Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
You got proof?
I don't have proof that this woman will be promoted. This woman will be promoted. And if it had been someone else that didn't have an interest in being in the White House and didn't have these ties, I bet you we wouldn't even hear about this. Wouldn't exist in the ethos of life.
And all the attitude that came from it. And then we get this decision that kind of, as people have said, split the baby. But the judge did grant the opportunity to appeal. And so what does the appeal look like? Is there something specific that you all feel like you can appeal and get her off the case?
Oh, yeah, I think we have some really strong issues on appeal. So our appeal is going to focus on the factual findings that the judge already made. And if you look at that order, you can tell he made some really strong factual findings that support a conflict. So we're going to be arguing that his decision actually should have gone farther and it should have actually disqualified her because he gave us all the factual findings we need. We just now need a court to say that's too much. That's enough. She's got to be disqualified. Yes. And if that happens, then we'll get a neutral prosecutor to be able to go and review this and decide whether or not they're even going to bring these charges again.
Right. Actually, let me ask you about the human side of this because, your client, Donald Trump, the former president, he's on trial. This is, of course, part of a greater coordinated effort to not let people vote for him in the coming election. But this is very high stakes. And we were just talking earlier, he's taking time out of his schedule to come to the funeral and the wake for this police officer. He's got campaign obligations. He's got other cases in other states. What's his mental state? And he seems to be handling it so well. How does he compare to other clients who are under this kind of pressure?
Well, my client, I represent Michael Roman, so I'm part of the team that they represent Donald Trump. But this is immensely stressful for everyone. I mean, as you can imagine, being charged with a crime where you could potentially go to prison, I can't imagine much greater stress. It's one of the most stressful situations in the entire world. And, having to think about going in front of a jury and putting your fate in the hands of 12 people, that's extremely stressful. Right. Having to deal with all these different court hearings is extremely stressful. Yes. And for President Trump, that's even, confounded by the fact that he's got all these different jurisdictions that he's got to answer to. I mean, you could see it in the conflict letters. There were some conflict letters filed earlier this week where he's telling one judge, I've got to be here, and another judge, I've got to be here. That's stressful. Anytime you're supposed to be more than one place and you're one human being, that's stressful. Then coupled with the fact that all of these have serious legal ramifications, that's a full-time job for someone.
Yeah.
Seems almost impossible.
Which is probably part of the plan of all this.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, too, Jim Jordan's also looking into Fani Willis and trying to find out about what she's up to and try to get all this information that she's reluctant to give over, although she swears she's cooperating.
Tensions escalating on Capitol Hill as Congressman Jim Jordan calls on Fani Willis to appear before lawmakers. The embattled Fulton County District Attorney facing an ultimatum: show up or face contempt of Congress if she doesn't comply with the congressional subpoena.
Congress is trying to find out if and how her office misused federal funds. So Fani Willis's office is saying that she's innocent. Their office did nothing wrong, but Congressman Jim Jordan is saying they haven't sent over enough to prove that. They're looking for yet another slice of the pie. So in a letter we obtained from Jim Jordan to Fani Willis's office, it reads in part, quote, your office unlawfully planned to use part of a $488,000 federal grant earmarked for the creation of a Center of Youth Empowerment and Gang Prevention to cover frivolous, unrelated expenses.
That's what I'm saying.
We know the allegations here center on a former employee who...
That's what I'm saying. Almost $500,000.
But I'm saying
$500,000.
She easily was able to use that because this is money sitting in an account. And you could say this trip, I need this money for this trip. Yeah, and then she's not having to justify on what she's writing, what this was done for and this was done for. They just see 300 here, 200 here, and she just say, "Oh yeah, it's used for what I used to get the criminals." No, you playing with the money,
and
that's all that is. She's playing with the money.
That they are definitely holding her accountable and gonna make sure she follows suit.
Yeah,
let's go.
Who said the district attorney fired her soon after she raised concerns about how one of their employees hoped to use those federal grant money for things outside of the scope of that federal grant, the Youth Violence and Gang Prevention Program. The Congressman, Jim Jordan, he's emphasizing the seriousness of the matter. He's saying that failure to adhere to the subpoena would result in severe consequences. As part of that letter, he says, quote, "The committee expects that you will produce all responsive documents to the subpoena in the categories prioritized by the committee. If you fail to do so, the committee will consider taking further action, such as the invocation of contempt of Congress proceedings."
Now, I need
and
to
that's
look
what's
that
really
up.
new in this story here.
It
So we've
finds
reached out to Willis's office in response for this subpoena. We have not heard back from her yet. We'll update you when we do. But when this subpoena was initially sent out back in February 2nd, she sent us this statement. She says, in part, quote, "These false allegations are included in baseless litigation filed by a holdover employee from the previous administration who was terminated for cause. The courts have ruled they found no merit in these claims. We expect the same result in any pending litigation." Marky, right now, it's still unclear whether or not these federal funds in question were used or misused improperly or not.
Let's talk about this Georgia case. And we know that Fani Willis looks unbelievably compromised. It looks like she's admitted her relationships with Nathan Wade, whose credentials are weak to be a lead prosecutor on a former president of the United States. They're going to be questioning today a lot of his expenses that he was paid and were they used to go on vacation together. Look at some of this stuff. You probably can't see it there. $800 for Napa Valley Hotel. $3,000.
$800,000.
No, that's not $1,000.
$800?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm tripping.
Or plus, yeah.
For hotel stay. I mean, how many? I wonder how many days. Napa Valley ain't cheap. $2,600 for a Royal Caribbean cruise package. So, yeah, that's two people's worth cruise package. Then they went down to the Norwegian cruise line. So they was like, man, let's just go into another cruise because the Royal Caribbean can only go to certain places. Let's see if we can go to the ones that take you out far. So they done spent about $6,000 on the cruise. Atlanta hotel, so they didn't stay at the W probably a couple times. 1-800 Flowers. So I mean, she just basically, this is a case of just a woman that has dipped her into the cookie pot of what looks like free available money. That's what that is.
Overused her power. You know, she really pushed the envelope.
Yeah, and whereas somebody in that would have been beneath her in this role that would have been dipping into the money, they would have fired you after a while because they would have started seeing that you've been taken and using for your own personal. People get fired for that every day.
But I need to look up, and if anybody, any of our subscribers, know like what happens when if you're held in contempt, if you don't adhere or take upon the call of the Congress. I mean, that's nothing light at all. So, and she's just taking her sweet little time, and that's what I really don't like.
$1,000 for a Royal Caribbean vacation, plus to that Norwegian cruise, on and on and on. 1-800 Flowers. All these bills, are they related to the money he's getting because of the job she gave him? And what does it mean for the case?
Yeah, she used taxpayer dollars to help Nathan Wade, who spent it in all kinds of ways, but he also used that money to go after President Trump, for goodness sake.
So that's where the problem really goes in.
I think she's compromised. And back up a second. She charged President Trump and 18 other people and was looking to charge 3 United States senators. She put this out, including the top Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And now we find out, and we're talking to this individual, now we find out there's a whistleblower in the Fulton County DA's office who says that Fani Willis also misspent federal funds. Wow. That's why we've subpoenaed Ms. Willis for information related to that and other issues. We want to know what's going on here, but she sure looks like she's been compromised in this entire ridiculous effort that she undertook several months ago.
I just hope they blow up the case because she has no credibility and she led the charge, and it seems to be all about politics.
And lots of questions today after District Attorney Fani Willis said this.
Recently, they tell me they don't like me to talk about race. Well, I'm going to talk about it anyway. Truth is, it's some challenges that come to being black.
Child, please. Child,
oh my God! So we know we titling. You know what? I just figured out what I'm titling this video.
Oh Lord, I can't stand it. Let's not even go there.
So let me tell you something.
Girl, that you ain't got nothing else to say.
Do you think maybe 10, 15 years ago people could use that argument for this same situation? They could say something about them being black. Do you think it would have been legal?
Let me say this.
You think it would have been people to passed on that?
There have been challenges, and that statement is correct. But this is an inappropriate use of that statement. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Come on.
No, that's
You've caused and brought all of this heat on yourself, boo.
She's dipping into the same pot like she dipped in for the little extra funds to go do stuff. She's dipping in the racism pot.
Please.
It's an available pot that's wide open. People dip into and grab from it.
Gag order against DA Fani Willis following remarks she made at a church in January about the election interference case against former President Donald Trump.
Was surprised that he admonished her for what she said at the church because it wasn't directly about these defendants.
Associate Professor John Acevedo, who teaches law at Emory University, says Judge Scott McAfee's criticism of comments Fulton County DA Fani Willis made at Big Bethel Church wasn't necessary, but he does admire the way the judge ruled.
But dear God, are you listening? Why does Commissioner Thorne and so many others question my decision in a special counsel? Lord, your flawed, hard-headed, and imperfect child, I'm a little confused. I appointed 3 special counsel, as is my right to do, paid them all the same hourly rate. They only attacked one. I hired one white woman, a good personal friend and great lawyer, a superstar, I tell you. I hired one white man, brilliant, my friend, and a great lawyer. And I hired one black man, another superstar, a great friend, and a great lawyer.
Pause it. Who turned out to be your lover. And according to the ethics committee, that is inappropriate for what you do, boo. Don't play.
But I have an issue is, all right, so a lot of us in this world, we make mistakes and we bring it to Christ. But she's arrogantly coming to the situation, Lord, forgive me, but I hired this, and this is why they doing me wrong. I'm like, whoa, you're not even coming genuine to the Lord, ain't you?
Exactly, as if she did nothing wrong. Yes, but she failed to state that the black man is the one that she had a relationship with. Come on now.
I wonder where this church is. I guarantee it's in Atlanta somewhere.
Big Bethel, yeah, Big Bethel. I know, I've heard of it. I just can't claim. Wait a minute,
did they say Big Bethel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Where is that?
I thought Bethel
is
was
that
one down. I thought that was one downtown.
Okay. I'm thinking about Mount Carmel.
Yep. We support you. You know, it's just that's black
please,
church mode.
I cannot.
We support. Yep. We support you. They're doing us wrong.
Come correct.
They gonna be mad when I call them out on this nonsense. First thing they say, oh, she gonna play the race card now.
Yeah.
But no, God, isn't it them who's playing the race card?
Wait. But she's saying first thing they, and then she comes in and say God, but you were talking to them, but then God has responding. I'm confused. I'm confused even how she's even addressed it.
Just listen.
When they only question one. Isn't it them playing the race card when they constantly think, I need someone from some other jurisdiction in some other state to tell me how to do a job I've been doing almost 30 years.
I cannot.
God, why don't they look at themselves and just be honest? I mean, can't they keep it 100 with themselves? Why are they so surprised that a diverse...
This is absolutely insane. I just cannot sit here and look at this, put up a front and a lie and twist it.
She's super
arrogant.
Yeah.
Twist it to make it seem as though it's somebody else when it was you, boo. If you were a white person down there, you would still be facing the same level of corruption. And I believe that because based off what you did, it don't matter. It ain't got nothing to do with your color. It has to do with your actions.
Yep.
Let's be real.
Team that I assembled, your child, can accomplish extraordinary things. God, wasn't it them that attacked this lawyer of impeccable credentials? The black man I chose has been a judge more than 10 years.
What kind of judge has he been? What kind of judge was the man? Was he prosecuting was he doing this type of work?
He was dingling judge.
What was the man? What kind of, where was he at? What was what was he doing? Divorce court, right?
I guess, I don't know. Was that where he came from?
Personal injury. I'm sorry. That stuff was in divorce court. No, it was dealing with accidents and stuff like that. Personal injury. I cannot.
And see, I'm not a fan of these kind of churches. These be the churches that I They be your granddaddy's church that good and well ain't it's dry bones.
And
church.
that has nothing to do with the prostitute in China.
Elbow me on
Yeah,
purpose?
I'm just saying that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. We talking about she's sitting up here bold-faced lying.
Yeah,
that's what I can't. That's what's messed up, and the people there are co-signing it.
But she's doing that whole woe is me, but with arrogance and firmness with it. It's like it's no humility.
You need to be consequent for your behaviors. That's what you need to be.
Represented businesses in civil litigation. I ain't done, y'all. Served as a prosecutor, a criminal defense lawyer, special assistant attorney general. Won Chief Justice Robert Benham Award from the State Bar of Georgia. They ain't just giving this to black men. How come, God, the same black man I hired was acceptable when a Republican in another county hired him and paid him twice the rate? Oh, y'all ain't hear me. In another county, the elected official has the authority to pay him twice the rate. Why is the white male Republican's judgment good enough, but the black female Democrats not?
Weak.
Now please hear me. I'm not criticizing his judgment. The people of his county elected him to make that decision. In fact, let me put it on the record. He's someone I respect because he was always willing to hire diversity. He was just looking for quality. I don't care political party. They care about it. My only question is, why is it questioned me?
In his ruling, the judge wrote that Willis's comments at the church about the case were legally improper and warned of a potential gag order against her in the future.
They said her conversation was improper. Yeah, because why would you go? First of all, you got it's a big case, but then you go and talk about it to the church.
She's making it out to be race when it had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, and I say a white person, but it could have been any other race that was down there in violation of ethics and being accused or investigated for misappropriating funds and hiring someone who is not qualified for the position and the role that you have them in, and you're paying them a substantial amount of money when they don't even lack the qualifications to be earning that. So I can't even wrap my mind around this. This is what really gets me. If you're going to stand your ground, but please have a leg to stand on. Don't be up here lying and making up stuff, because that ain't it.
And then sometimes I have an issue with people that are black leaders or in that regard, that the first thing they do is run to the black church because they looking for somebody to co-sign.
Exactly.
Black church. Black church. Ain't gonna all black church, because every black church ain't gonna co-sign for you. It be the ones, to me, that don't have that power.
Yeah, the sky's falling, the sky is just up there, sun bright, shining. The sky is falling. Yes, it is. And you out here looking like, okay, it's fall. Please.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I cannot. So I truly hope that whatever she did that was not right is brought to justice, because this makes no absolute sense.
It makes none.
This makes no sense. Now, come on. You have all this opportunity and all this time to get your stuff straight, to go ahead and correct the wrong, state the fact, but yet you want to continue to puff yourself up. No. A man gets prideful right before his fall. That's what the word says. So we gonna see how long this go going. I don't even understand why she's still there. But remember, I said this. I said I just don't feel like it's gonna be as easy as people think, because of how the politics. That's right. Thank you, Lord. The politics behind what's going on is why she's still in there. I feel she shouldn't be. But how long it takes in the processes for her to be able for this to be brought to an end is not as cut and dry as it seems.
All right. I mean, you said it all. I don't have nothing to say.
Yes.
So I guess we're just going to keep following. It's just going to keep getting more interesting, I guess. But I believe before the year's up with, she won't be in that spot.
And I want to know, like, okay, so when you don't answer the subpoena, or you don't have a choice but to answer, because then are the feds going to come and get you? Your job going to be shut down? I mean, what does that mean? When you fail to appear to a subpoena, they come to lock you up.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what your role is. It doesn't matter who you are.
She's going to adhere to the subpoena.
They come to lock you up.
She ain't going to put herself to be in the same jail that she's putting people in. I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
No, but she needs to answer. She needs to answer and be real. She's so keeping it real. Like, okay, do that.
This woman is super prideful.
Do that.
And arrogant. So.
All right. Well, we did a lot of laughing. We did a lot of learning. Not much laughing today, but we laugh, we learn, and we take positive action.
2024, be more.
Talk less.
We'll see you on the next one.